This week on Jerusalem Dateline, some are calling it the worst humanitarian crisis in the world today. Nearly 1 million refugees are fleeing the fighting in northeast Syria. Plus, a ministry and a family who run to the battle and share the love of Jesus. And the B'nai Anusim, the prophetic story of millions who are rediscovering their Jewish past and praying at the Western Wall for China and deliverance from the coronavirus. All this and more this week on Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. Some are calling it the worst humanitarian crisis in the world today. Nearly 1 million civilians are fleeing the fighting between Syrian forces of Bashar Assad, backed by Russia, and rebel Islamist groups backed by the Turkish President Erdogan. Millions of Syrians are caught in the crossfire.
We stay here from the morning till the evening. We sit here and eat and drink. We are living. What can we do? This is our life.
Here's the story of one family and ministry that has gone into some of the most desperate situations and brought the love of Jesus. Gary Lane has that story.
Our next guest runs directly into the center of danger. 20 years ago, he founded a mission organization called the Free Burma Rangers. The group has helped ethnic people under siege by the Burmese military, providing relief and medical treatment, all in the name of Christ. More recently, FBR worked in Iraq during the battle to liberate Mosul from ISIS jihadists. You may remember CBN News showing you Eubank dodging gunfire, carrying a little Iraqi girl to safety. Well, now FBR is working in Syria, helping people under siege there. And here to tell us more from Syria is David Eubank. Dave, good to see you. Tell us about the film. Why was it done? What will people see?
Well, at about our 20-year point of the Free Burma Rangers, by then we had teams in Burma, and we hadn't gone to Sudan yet or Iraq yet. We've been in Burma. I just had this growing feeling. I wanted to thank God. I wanted to thank people who helped us and show them what would have been happening. It just welled up inside me. It reminded me of the 10 blind people that were healed by Jesus, and one came back and said, thank you. It just came up. I thought, this is the time to share the story. And I remembered I was talking to a filmmaker friend of mine, Chris Sinclair, in Burma, in the jungle. He was there doing another project with us. And I said, I'm going to make a film. It'll be horrible if I make it, but I will have done my part. And Chris Sinclair, who made this current movie, said, I'll do it. Pro bono. Free. Okay. And we prayed. And we wanted to tell the story, what has God done through us and in spite of us? Who are the beautiful people all over the world, from every culture and tribe and race and religion that God made? They're awesome. Get to know them. We want to show the miracles God has done, again, through weak, imperfect, simple people like us and our friends. And there's no other kind that I know of. There's a lot better people than us, but even the best people are not perfect. But God uses us anyway. You don't have to give up. And I want people to see the Karen people of Burma, the other people of Burma as we see them. It's lovely, wonderful people deserving to be free. We should stand with them. I want them to see Iraqis, as I learned, are wonderful people. They're not our enemies. And to see how God brings us together. My mom says, and she's been a missionary most of her life. She's 87, been in the field 60 years. My dad's 90. My mom said, Dave, God has friends all over the world, and he likes them to meet each other.
They're called B'nai Anusim, or sons of the forced ones. That's because they face the choice of converting to Catholicism or death. Jimmy McClintock joined Christians and Jews in Portugal to pray for the B'nai Anusim. The hope is to restore their Jewish heritage so they can immigrate to Israel.
The B'nai Anusim today, being confronted with the realization that they are Jewish, and yet their family life took a huge turn 500 years ago.
King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella initiated the Spanish Inquisition to expose Jews who converted to Catholicism but secretly kept their religion.
Either you convert or you die. So they never gave, Jewish people, these descendants, the option. But these descendants, they chose to keep their Judaism in secret, and it was a risk. And many of them died because of that.
Castelo de Vida is a quaint Portuguese town of about 5,000 people. It's about 10 miles from the Spanish border. Hundreds of years ago, when the Spanish Inquisition started, Spain's Jews fled across the border here for protection. Over about 4 years, King Manuel I of Portugal welcomed some 120,000 Jews to his country. In 1496, however, the Catholic Church demanded King Manuel deal with his Jews before he could marry the daughter of King Ferdinand in Spain.
First, he thought he would ship them out, like the Jews were kicked out of Spain in 1492. And then he realized that if he does, he's got nobody to administer his country and to run the country. So he forced to convert them in one day.
At the time, many of Portugal's Jews fled to newly discovered Brazil, where an estimated 60 million of their descendants still live today. But they face a situation similar to their ancestors.
The Orthodox establishment in Israel, they want to convert them to Jewish Orthodoxy, which is exactly what the Catholic Church did. They forced them to do something they don't want to do.
Israeli Joe Shulam, who started the Nativia congregation in Jerusalem, is leading the immigration campaign for the Bnei Anusim.
These people say we are Jews. We never stopped being Jewish. We were Jews even when we knew that if the church catches us and tries us in the auto de fe, we could be burned alive.
Shulam and others believe this return to Israel would fulfill biblical prophecy.
God says through Obadiah the prophet that the Jews from Sepharad, I am a Sephardic Jew, the Jews from Sepharad will come back to the land with God's blessing and settle the Negev. Israel has been trying to settle the Negev for 70 years. It's still empty. The Negev is waiting for these Jews.
Ethiopian Jews have been called one of Israel's lost tribes. Thousands are returning to their ancestral home, and unfortunately they face daunting challenges in building new lives in the Promised Land. More than 90,000 Ethiopian Jews live here. Many see themselves as descendants of the ancient Hebrew tribe of Dan. Each year, many of them celebrate the Sigd, an ancient holiday marking how God brought them to Israel. But these Ethiopian Jews face major challenges integrating into Israeli society. That's where Karen Hanan Ainor, or KHA, comes in. It's an organization committed to help young Ethiopians make the leap into higher education. In Israel, education opens doors.
Education is the key to integrate and to involve in every corner and every profession in Israel.
Dr. Siga Malaku received one of the first scholarships presented and now leads the KHA.
In Israeli society, to integrate if you are not educated, and especially you are from Ethiopia and our skin color and everything, if you don't have a formal education in the professionally, it's not easy to integrate. But by the way, this kind of scholarship gives opportunity not for only first generation, also second generation too.
Malaka is seeing the impact from one generation to another.
It's a cry for mercy from the heart of Jerusalem. Standing under the shadow of the Western Wall, Israelis ask God to eradicate the coronavirus from the earth.
We can't develop medicines because we're not doctors and we're not medics and we just don't know what to do. But what we do know how to do well is pray.
The prayer meeting comes as some fear the world is on the verge of a global pandemic.
We're praying for the people in China. We're praying for all people around the world in order to keep them safe, in order to keep them secure, in order to enable the doctors to find a cure very fast for this terrible coronavirus.
The faithful uttered prayers in Hebrew and Mandarin asking God to intervene. Several Chinese tourists joined them.
I really appreciate that a lot of Jewish people can come here for the purpose of to pray for China and pray that the difficult time will pass very soon.
Israel hopes these prayers from Jerusalem will be felt around the world.
It's pouring, it's raining, and we're standing here all united together, and the Jewish people are just standing here heart in heart with the Chinese people.
Well, that's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.